The quote that pretty much runs through the chapter here is one by Paul Evans, a professor of organizational behavior, right? It says effectiveness, right? Effectiveness, getting the right result with what you have or what you are using, being able to maximize, to optimize that which you have to get the result that you're desiring is inherently paradoxical. It's paradoxical because the things that are involved in getting effectiveness, it seemingly look as if they are opposite to one another, right? So it says to be effective, a leader must possess attributes that are contrary, even mutually exclusive to one another. It's just saying it's strategic. That's all. That's why, and not just every Tom, Dick, and Harry gets it. Not just any Bing Bay, Alaba, and Yabo gets it, because you have to put some thinking to it. It's getting the right ingredient, the right amount of each. And some of them might be contrary to one another, but the way you just oppose them is what is important. If you just add them anyhow, they won't work. But you just oppose them in a way that they complement one another. Is what the Japanese call the yin and the yang of life. The yin and the yang of life is two seemingly opposing principles, that enforce and enable one another. They are seemingly opposing, but when put in the right place, in the right amount, in the right setting, they complement one another, they empower one another, they enable one another. Right, and that's what effectiveness is, and that's what as proposed by Paul Evans, the professor, and it's true in life, right? And that's why the Japanese, give it a special name. They call it the yin and the yang of life. The yin and the yang of life, right? It's not the yin or the yang. It's the yin and the yang of life. Jim C. Collins, in his book, and he wrote two big books, of which other ones were built off it. Built to stand, built to last, and good to great. He came up with that principle, of what we call the genius of the and the tyranny of the all. The immature people are always running after the all. Is that this or that? This or that? Yesterday I was discussing on one of my channels, and someone was just all held up. Oh, it's not what I do or don't do. Oh, it is God's sovereignty and all of that. You know, those are sentiments, right? Whatever law is, and we are the ones who dance to the law, not try to justify our shortcoming. The law is the law. We either agree with the law and win, or disagree with the law and lose, right? Our life does not describe nature. Nature describes our life. The law of nature describes our life and sets our life aright. Our life does not set the law of nature. The law of nature is older than us. We are the ones to agree with God, not God dancing to our tune. That's why the Bible says in Galatians 6, verse 7 and 8, he says that God is not mocked. God's already set everything in order. God is not mocked. God is not mocked. You can't deceive God. You can't trick God. He has already set things in order. You either agree with his order and win, or disagree with it and lose. It's yours. You are the decision maker. No, that's why it goes on and says that exaltation does not come from the east, not from the west. Exaltation comes from God. Because when God comes, he judges you. Are you in line with my order? If you are in line with my order, it will promote you. If you are not in line with this order, it will demote you. It doesn't keep you the same. He's either going to promote you or demote you, based on his judgment of where you are, how you are carrying your life, what you are doing or not doing, right? It doesn't just judge because of how he feels, or he judges different way, different days. He judges about based on your doing. It's the work of your hand that God looks at. The work of your hand is what determines your judgment. Are you dancing in line with this law or dancing against this law? that determines whether you're going to be promoted or demoted, whether you're going to be exalted or not exalted, you know. And that's pretty much the spirit, the mindset, that runs through this chapter. The fact that, for you to be effective, you have to be careful, to make sure you are using the right amount of the right things at the right time, in the right way, to the right person. Right? It's not a slam dunk, because we're all different. What works for child A will not necessarily work for child B, will not necessarily work for child C. I have 3 children, they're all different. I can't handle the child 2 the way I handle child 1. I can't handle child 3 the way I handle child 2. They're all different and unique. Right? There's some things that cut across, but the way I interpret those cut across for each individual is according to who they are. Otherwise, I lose them. Right? So leadership is not a mindless game. It's a game in which your mind has to be there, because you have to consider what you are working on. You're not going to just use rule of thumb. Rule of thumb, it worked here, it's going to work there. You won't be effective. You'll miss it. Right? Because even though the laws are the same, you have to interpret it to meet the circumstance we are working with, right? The specific nature of your reality. You have to apply it. You have to apply it for the road that you are hitting, right? Because when it comes to you applying a specific law principle to a person, that's when the rubber hits the road. You have to get the feedback, right? When you apply it to person A, the feedback is different from when you apply it to person B. And you have to respond based on the feedback you get. You cannot be blind to the feedback. Otherwise, you will not be effective. Otherwise, you will not get the high performance you're looking for, right? All right.